Tiramisu. You know, in Italian it loosely translates to pick me up. Or it could be lift me up or carry me up, you get the idea. But there's no better dessert to get the job done than this ultra light and creamy coffee lover's treat. This is Kitchen Serious. If there were a Mount Rushmore of desserts, this would probably be on it. In its simplest form, tiramisu is traditionally espresso-soaked ladyfingers layered with rich cream and usually dusted with cocoa. If you can't find ladyfingers at your local grocery store, you're in luck because I'm going to make a batch. If you'd like to make your own, here are a few things to make sure you have before you get started. They're super easy and will raise your tiramisu game to the next level, trust me. Now, it's best to have everything in place once the batter's finished, since we want these to hit the oven while still full of air. So the oven gets preheated to 390, and you'll either need a sheet of parchment or a silicone baking mat. It's also very important that you start with room temperature eggs. As eggs lose their chill, they're more effective at keeping the meringue stable. So I'm going to sift together 1 cup of AP flour, 1 tablespoon cornstarch, half a tablespoon of baking powder, and a pinch of salt. As you saw earlier, I separated the eggs, and we're going to work with the yolks first. With your mixer on medium speed, slowly add a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, and it's optional, but you could then add a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Once the sugar's in, raise your speed up to high, and eventually you'll see that this mixture gets really thick and turns a pale yellow. Now we'll do the same thing, only with the egg whites. Now, we want to beat these until they reach soft peaks before we start adding the sugar. We're going to add half a cup of sugar. Eventually, this will reach stiff peak stage while being thick and shiny. Now it's important to put the mixer away because from here, I'm just going to use a spatula to gently fold in the rest of the ingredients together. So with a gentle folding motion with the spatula, I'm going to gradually fold in our egg yolk mixture into the whites. Now I'm going to take a similar approach with the dry ingredients and add those a third at a time, carefully folding them into our mixture. Don't overmix this, guys. We want to keep as much air in this as possible. Once the batter comes together, you'll need to make these immediately because the batter's nice and airy from all the whipping. So make sure that once you start making the batter, you're ready to go. Now to get this signature look of Ladyfingers, we're going to pipe them onto a baking sheet. So if you have a piping bag and tip, awesome. If you don't, then you can follow along with me. I tore my kitchen apart looking for my piping bag, and no joy. So I went with the tried and true 1 gallon Ziploc. It's not ideal, but if you're in a pinch, it will work. I'm going to load about half the mixture in the bag and work it down towards the bottom corner. This is the corner that I'm going to use as the tip. So I'm going to carefully snip off the corner while leaving myself about a 1/2 inch hole. As you can see, I'm experimenting with making really long ladyfingers and then just cutting them to size. But at the end of the day, I would recommend just sticking with about 4 inches. Do not do what I did, and I accidentally put mine in the oven for a few seconds, and then realized I forgot to sift a generous amount of powdered sugar on these. Now, before we start on the filling, it's important to know that you're going to need a cup of really strong coffee or espresso. Have that already made and cooled. All right, these golden brown beauties are out of the oven, so we can move on to our next step, which is that really light and fluffy custard. Now, the beginning of this is actually going to look very familiar. We're going to take our separated eggs, 4 egg yolks, and we're going to add 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. But now is kind of where we veer off to our own territory, and we're going to be making a sort of zabayon, which is egg yolk cooked over a bain-marie and a little sugar. Traditionally, it has wine, a sweet wine. A lot of Italians swear by amaretto in their tiramisu. You could also add Cointreau for a little orange flavoring. It's really up to you guys. I wouldn't put more than a shot just because it would just overwhelm the entire thing. Now after close to 10 minutes or so, you're going to see this really thick and look custard-like. This is still a little runny, so I decided off camera to just give it a little bit more time and thicken it up. Once this is off the heat, I'm going to add just a touch of vanilla extract, probably a half a teaspoon or so. With the help of a hand mixer, I'm going to whip in the mascarpone cheese. Once that's incorporated, I'm going to take a little store-bought container of whipped cream, whipped topping, and fold that in. It's about 2 cups. Now that we've made our custard, the fun part begins. We get to assemble this. So we're going to take each ladyfinger and give them a little dip in the coffee. Notice it's just a dip. You don't want to oversaturate these. When you buy the store-bought ones, they're a lot harder, and you're going to want to probably keep those submerged for a good 2 to 3 count. You can see here I'm just going to dip them because they're really soft and super absorbent. Now that we've dipped all the bottom layer of ladyfingers, we're going to add our super light custard. Just try to eyeball about half of it, and the second half is going to be the very top of this, because we're going to put one more layer of soaked ladyfingers on top of this. It can be challenging when you're scooping this out of the dish to really hold its shape, so I'll take note of the direction the first layer of ladyfingers was in, and then go 90 degrees opposite. So our second layer is done. I'm going to finish off the cream, and now we can cover this with a little cocoa powder. It's now ready to be chilled in the fridge for at least 3 hours or overnight if you're able. And here we are the following day. Don't ask me how I was able to wait this long, but this looks like it's good and set up. This could be 9 servings, 2 servings, 1 serving. It's really up to you. I'm going to give it the old tic-tac-toe pattern and get 9 servings out of this. Now, I must say this is one of the more successful attempts of getting the first piece out that I've ever had. I think it was because I staggered the layout a little bit with the ladyfingers. I don't know. But anyway, I hope you try this and love it. I know you will. If you love coffee and dessert, this is a can't lose situation. So thank you guys so much for checking out Kitchen Serious, and I will see you next time.